Take a moment the next time you're in the shower to think about what's in your hand. That bottle, that lather, that scent. It feels like the most ordinary thing in the world. It isn't. The story begins not in a laboratory, not in a factory, but beside the rivers and forests of ancient India, more than 5,000 years ago. The Indus Valley civilization, one of the earliest complex societies on Earth, and already people were washing their hair, not with soap, not with anything synthetic, with soap nuts, the dried fruits of a tree that grew wild across the subcontinent. Inside those small, unremarkable fruits was a compound called saponin, a natural surfactant. Add water, rub between the palms, and something remarkable happened. It lathered, it cleaned, it left the hair soft, shiny, and manageable. These weren't crude experiments. The people of ancient India had developed a sophisticated system of hair care, boiling soapberries with dried herbs, hibiscus flowers, and Indian gooseberry, straining the liquid and applying it with care. The science was intuitive, the results were real, and the tradition would be passed down, generation after generation, for thousands of years. But before it was a product, shampoo was a feeling. The Sanskrit word is champo. It means to massage, to press, to soothe. In 16th century India, shampooing someone wasn't about washing their hair. It was about working warm oil into their scalp with skilled hands, releasing tension, restoring balance. It was medicine as much as it was grooming. That word, champo, would travel, carried by traders, by colonizers, by one extraordinary man from Bengal. And when it arrived in England, nothing would ever be quite the same. His name was Sheikh Deen Mohammed, a Bengali entrepreneur, a traveler, a man of extraordinary ambition who sailed to Britain and looked at a country that had never heard of shampooing and saw an opportunity. In Brighton, along with his Irish wife, he opened a bathhouse unlike anything England had ever seen. Clients would come and receive an Indian-style head massage, oils warmed, herbs prepared, hands moving across the scalp with practiced precision. The local newspapers called it the cure to all diseases. The aristocracy called it essential. King George IV called it so good that he appointed Muhammad his personal shampooing surgeon. King William IV did the same. One man, one idea, an ancient Indian ritual delivered to the British establishment, and the word shampoo entered the English language. But Europe had its own ideas about cleanliness. By the late 1700s, London hairstylists had started boiling shaved soap in water, adding herbs for fragrance, and applying it to their clients' hair. It was rougher than the Indian method, less therapeutic, more practical. For most of the 19th century, the average person washed their hair with the same bar of soap they used on their body, made from animal fat, vegetable oil, and alkaline salt. It wasn't pleasant, it didn't smell good, it left the hair dull, stiff, and sometimes, frankly, unmanageable. Washing frequency was nothing like it is today. Once a week if you were diligent, once a month if you were typical. The idea of washing your hair every day would have seemed frankly extravagant. Something had to change. Enter Hans Schwarzkopf. Berlin, 1903. A chemist and pharmacist working out of a small drugstore hears from a client about a scented powder hair wash she encountered in England. He is intrigued. He experiments. He creates. The result, a violet-scented powder shampoo that customers could dissolve in water and use at home. It was a sensation. Women could finally wash their hair without boiling soap or visiting a salon. Schwarzkopf's shop became famous. His name became a brand. And in 1927, he went further, introducing the first liquid shampoo designed for mass production. You could pour it, measure it, use it in the bath, at the basin, wherever you liked. The modern shampoo era had begun. But the real revolution was happening in a laboratory in Cincinnati, Ohio. Procter & Gamble, 1934. A product called Drene. Drene was different from everything that came before it. Not soap, not powder, not a natural extract. Dreen was built on synthetic surfactants, molecules engineered specifically to attach to oil and dirt on one end and to water on the other. They lifted grime away from the hair shaft, they rinsed clean, they left no residue. It was, according to the Smithsonian Institution, the first modern synthetic shampoo in history, and it worked. Hair washed with Dreen was softer, shinier, easier to manage. Consumers who tried it didn't go back, and Procter & Gamble, once a soap company, had just discovered the future. They promoted it with the full force of American advertising, radio programs, magazine spreads. The message was simple, and it landed. Clean hair is beautiful hair, and now everyone can have it. After the Second World War, everything accelerated. New synthetic surfactants, cheaper, gentler, and more effective than ever before, flooded the market. The shampoo industry was no longer a niche, it was a phenomenon. And with scale came specialization. Shampoos for oily hair, shampoos for dry hair, for blondes, for brunettes, for fine hair, for thick hair. For the first time in human history, people were being told that their hair type mattered and that there was a product made specifically for them. Frequency of washing crept upward. Weekly became every few days. Every few days became every day. The bathroom shelf, once home to a single bar of soap, began to fill, then overflow. The ritual of shampooing had become one of the defining habits of modern life. But not every problem was solved, not yet. Dandruff had plagued humanity for as long as hair existed. The solutions, coal tar, egg oil, were unpleasant, ineffective, sometimes damaging. In 1949, a chemical engineer and bacteriologist named John Perrin Jr. joined Procter & Gamble with a single mission: end dandruff. He spent a decade trying. 10 years of clinical trials, hundreds of compounds tested, countless failures, until finally, in 1961, his team identified a compound, zinc pyrithium, that could target the microscopic fungus living on the scalp, the organism responsible for dandruff, and stop it. They named the product Head and Shoulders. By 1975, it had been perfected, clinically proven, pleasantly scented, and effective. It became the world's best-selling shampoo. It still holds that title today. 10 years, one scientist, one fungus, one answer. Not everyone wanted to wash their hair with water. The concept of cleaning hair without getting it wet is actually ancient. Powders, clay, and starch were used for centuries to absorb excess oil, but the 20th century made it commercial. The first branded powder dry shampoo, Mini-Poo, was made from fuller's earth, a type of absorbent clay. It worked. It smelled better than unwashed hair. It was a hit. And in 1971, a French brand called Clonan introduced the first spray dry shampoo, originally developed for new mothers recovering in hospital. It was practical, effortless, and eventually it went global. By the 21st century, dry shampoo would become a multi-billion-dollar category of its own, beloved by anyone who has ever needed to look presentable and simply didn't have time. The 1980s brought one more leap forward. In 1987, Procter & Gamble launched Pert Plus, the first broadly successful 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. The idea of cleaning and conditioning in a single step seemed almost too clever. Consumers loved it. The message of the era was efficiency, multitasking, more, faster, easier. Shampoo reflected the times perfectly. The 1990s piled on, volumizing formulas, color-protecting shampoos, keratin-enriched treatments, pH-balanced cleansers. Every conceivable hair concern now had a dedicated product. The bathroom shelf had become a pharmacy. Then came the questions. What exactly is in this bottle? What does sodium lauryl sulfate actually do to my scalp? What about parabens, silicones, synthetic fragrances? A generation of consumers began to read ingredient lists for the first time, and some didn't like what they found. The clean beauty movement arrived. Sulfate-free shampoos, paraben-free formulas, plant-derived surfactants, organic certifications. Brands promised products that were gentle on hair, gentle on skin, and gentle on the planet. And then something unexpected happened. Ancient ingredients came back. Shikakai, amla, neem, rita, soapberry extract. The very same plants that people in the Indus Valley had used 5,000 years ago were appearing on the ingredient lists of premium artisanal hair care products, marketed as revolutionary. They weren't new, they were ancient. They had simply been forgotten. And the solid shampoo bar. That object that looks, remarkably, like the soap bars of 100 years ago, but is formulated entirely differently. pH-balanced, surfactant-rich, and concentrated, made an extraordinary comeback driven by the zero-waste movement. Millions of people rediscovered the pleasure of a bar in their hand. No plastic bottle, no waste, just lather. The wheel had turned almost completely. Today, the global shampoo market is worth more than $30 billion a year. There are shampoos formulated by algorithm, personalized products built from online questionnaires about your water hardness, your diet, your stress levels. Companies that will analyze your hair under a microscope and ship you a formula made precisely for you. And somewhere on the horizon, artificial intelligence that studies your scalp, reads your lifestyle, and quietly adjusts your formula every month. From soapberries strained through cloth beside a river in ancient India to this. So, the next time you're standing in the shower, bottle in hand, think about Sakhdeen Muhammad, who crossed oceans to share what he knew. Think about John Perrin Jr., who spent a decade in a laboratory chasing a single answer. Think about the women of the Indus Valley who understood the power of a soapberry 5,000 years before anyone thought to put it in a bottle and sell it. Think about Hans Schwarzkopf and his violet powder. About Dreen and its synthetic surfactants, about every chemist, every entrepreneur, every grandmother who boiled herbs on a stove and knew exactly what she was doing. Every bottle of shampoo you've ever held is the product of 5 millennia of human curiosity, 5,000 years of wanting to feel clean, to look your best, to take care of yourself and the people you love. That lather in your hands? It has a very long history.